One interesting thing with communication is to give people space when talking. I've noticed that there's two phases of communication. Of course, there is the active phase of talking and there is a passive phase of listening. And I've found, kind of like in a magical or an energetic way, the same way that you focus on an object and you energize it, like focus on a part of yourself and you energize it, if you give people space, basically meaning you kind of focus on them and it's like you give them a stage and you just like focus on their energy. Once you finish talking, they'll kind of instinctually notice or know to talk, and they'll just start, it's like a machine, like one of those machines you turn, you wind up and then it just kind of starts going. Similarly, you could actually not focus on them. Just say in poor conversation, if a person talks and they're not interested in listening, they won't focus on the other person and the other person won't gain that energy, because you're actually giving energy away when you focus on the person. They won't gain that energy and they'll notice that they're not being heard and appreciated, so to speak. So they will kind of, their voice will get quiet when they're replying and they'll kind of trail off and won't really, it won't be very interesting whatever they're saying or whatever, because they're just not being given the energy to speak. They've kind of given all their energy away listening and it wasn't given back. So there's two kind of modes of the passive mode. So it's like you've split two into four, so to speak. Similarly, I guess if you were, I don't know, maybe there's a passive way of actively speaking or something. I don't know. I don't want to go too far into that. Another thing I want to speak about, based on conversation, since we're in a Libra season, is about reputation. And I would remember, back when I was younger, I would be on like image boards, and back when 8chan was the thing, for wipes, 5 something years ago, I think, 5-7 years ago. I'd talk on there and I would get a good reputation, right? Because if you just talk commonly on like a forum, I've had decent reputations on I guess, forums weren't really my thing. It kind of went to forums and image boards. Now it's like Discord servers and just servers, I guess. Whatever, chat apps, whatever. So things have changed, but you get a reputation if you talk long enough. Even if it's anonymous, still people they figure out your speaking style and and all that. So I have been used to that, gaining reputation online, just by doing good work, giving good information and help and such. And more recently I've noticed that physically in society, in the town and the city and such, the more I work, the more I kind of gain a reputation. And to be quite honest, I don't really care much. I'm not really I'm too old to care what people think about me and all that. But it is good to, have a good reputation, just because, just say you look at a person and you remember, I remember someone told me they were bad, and you'll instantly think, they're not good anymore. And a bad reputation brings a lot of trouble, so I'll put it that way. So it's always good to have a good reputation. But what I'm noticing is if you build up a good reputation in one town and you move to another, it's pretty easy to build it up in another town. It's kind of how it works. And reputation ultimately is just an external reflection of an internal thing. Meaning, if you are like an exceptional person internally, you're just going to have a good reputation. I got a good reputation online just because I was, maybe a little more switched on than others, and then physically I gained a good reputation because, again, I've cultivated and trained myself so much. Others don't really do that. It's kind of like the idea of if you go to the gym or you exercise at home, it doesn't really matter where, then you're better than probably 90% of people, maybe 80% if we be a little more generous to society. Eventually, after like a year or 5 years or whatever, you'll be pretty much better than 80-90% of people physically. So you can kind of get that idea, isn't it? If you put in work, you will just exceed people, and that's what I did in many faculties. And people realize that. They realize you're a little more special. You've got something, you've got that glow to you, which is, is energy. Ultimately, people are like moths to the flame, which is energy. So I just built up a decent reputation. Now, of course, you have to be careful of people who want to get on your bad side because of that energy, or they want to test you or whatever. So you have to develop quite a strong you have to develop spikes and claws and armor and all that to attack and defend. But getting back to the main point, the main idea is that external reputation is a reflection of an internal thing, and once you get used to building up reputation, which is basically built by talking to people, doing some kind of work, being seen. The more you're seen at a location, again, you build up reputation. You start to meet locals, etc., etc., and people start to you kind of think of people as a singular entity, and you think of a town as a singular entity. You are communing or communicating with a singular entity of a certain town, and you're working there. Of a singular entity of a certain online location, your website, server, image board, forum, whatever it happens to be, and you will gain more and more reputation and respect and all these good, nice things, which I don't know. I don't really push my weight around when it comes to reputation because I don't really care for the benefits that it gives, to be quite honest. So I can't really speak about that. So why you want to build it up? Well, realistically, just so you don't have a bad reputation. Just so people don't spit at you and try to start fights and shit. You know what I mean? It's like if people always try to start fights with you, and eventually you just fucking maul someone right in front of everyone else, they're not gonna fight you anymore. That's basically if you get bullied at back at high school or whatever, or you work a job, you just you of course you want to try to keep it in a war as much as possible, but sometimes you gotta show a little force. So basically you build up a good reputation to counter a bad reputation, and to counter people thinking they can do bad shit to you. People are literally just programmed robots. You want to think of them more like that, one level above animals in terms of intelligence and such, and then you can develop again above the level of a human if you just do a little bit of effort. As I said with the exercise thing, you're basically above 80-90% people if you do anything. That's all for this one. So there are two good books which are in an audio book form by someone on YouTube called Robert D. Jones, author. It's their YouTube channel. And the first book is The Golden Tract Concerning the The Golden Tract Concerning the Stone of the Philosophers, 1625 full Alchemy audiobook. I have that one posted on my Gab if you want a direct link, otherwise you can just look that up. And it's about 2 hours long. And the second one, which is about an hour long, is The Golden Age Restored, 1622 by Henry Madathanas, full Alchemy audiobook. So these are two ones which pretty much are in similar era. Two audiobooks that I listened to, and I thought they were quite good. I liked the first a bit more. The second one was a bit... I'll talk about that in a moment. So these experiments are vaguely related to it. Really, I just wanted to get my hands dirty in a few things, and I wanted to test a few things and show some stuff. But the ideas that I got from the first audiobook essentially was that the classical idea of the Philosopher's Stone is some kind of fusion of gold and silver, them being mostly incorruptible metals, very difficult to evaporate and such, hold a lot of power, and it talks a lot about reducing the gold to its red and the silver to its white. I assumed this was, dissolving them in an acid like ochre to get the salt and then combining them somehow, heating it, I don't know. But it also gives me some ideas that maybe it was the idea of amalgamating mercury, the gold and the silver and mercury. Now, at least in Vedic alchemy, the Indus or Indian people, they do this a lot, and they say that the gold and silver amalgamated with mercury is one of the greatest medicines that purifies the mercury and stops it from being as toxic and all these things. I don't know, I've never tried it, but it's an interesting idea. Are you willing to wager your life on it? Who knows? So I've also seen an experiment some French people did where they heated up mercury for a while and it turned red, and then it's like 40 days, and then they added bits of gold and silver, and I think it was mercury, I'm not sure. I think it was. And it went through all different colours, did the whole peacock's tail, rainbow colour thing. So that's assuming that the Philosopher's Stone is made with metal. Now the second one is the Golden Age Restored by Henry Matthews, and that one pretty obviously was talking about piss. If you listen to it, you can kind of get what I'm talking about. And we'll probably, as alchemists, we'll know about the whole piss stone and the piss alchemist and all that. Don't knock it. Things like urine therapy is a legitimate thing. If you're a sick person, you can use urine. You can't drink your own piss. You don't want to get overboard. There's some people that think it's much better than what it is. It's a decent medicine. It's not the Holy Grail. Unless maybe it is. Who knows? Some alchemists seem to think so. So anyway, that one, it again, refining it down. If you look up Philosopher's Stone urine, you'll see certain recipes, people talking about how you putrefy it and boil it and cycle it, and apparently you can make gold out of it and all this stuff. Is that true? I don't know. It's worth a try. If you can make gold out of something, maybe it's worth a try. Though maybe not at the same time. Who knows? I don't know. It's really your life. But anyway, so that's some experiments looking into that. And as I said, you can actually make very good medicines out of urine. And you can make incredibly good fertilizer out of it. So, at the end of the day, it pretty much is just the condensed energy, like bioenergy solution, I guess. So I'm going to take it as it is. So the counteracting polarities of absolute negative and positive in their physical forms is an interesting idea. Now, what do I mean by this? Okay. So, what is an incredibly negative substance? Or what are we talking about? Well, physical things are negative. Spiritual, energetic things are positive, right? What's a very a very strong negative thing, very rich in nutrients or something. You'd think dirt or soil, and the opposite of that would be the sky. And then if you push it further, what's a very energetic thing, pure electricity or light? Then again, what is a very nutrient dense thing, which would be salts, like a collection of salts or minerals, something deep under the earth, some kind of great collection of physical nutrients. One thing, if you look at like shilajit, which is this resinous thing which is just full of minerals, that's an incredibly negative substance in that context. While what would like the most positive thing be? It'd be something that if you touched it, you would just be incinerated. You would just be turned into like pure energy, raised to the highest levels. Because again, the positive energy, the positive in a physical form, or technically not physical, but in an energetic form, wants to negate matter. I guess that's kind of funny, the idea of like antimatter. We think of antimatter as black, something, this negative thing, but actually, what if it's hyper positive? So it's kind of like antimatter and supermatter, so to speak. We've got these two polarities, which again relate to the body, the crown, and the root. And the more things you take in your body of negative quality, if you just blend bone, your feet, hair, salt, minerals, rocks, you eat that stuff, black things, then you will, develop your own bones and your own root and such. And the opposite is if you eat things that are white, pure, a soft drink or soda is an example of this. It's very uplifting. If you feel heavy, it lightens you up. Similarly, the opposite is beer. If you drink beer, you will be lowered. You feel heavier. Sugar is a very, in this context, positive substance, though it's referred to as a yin in Chinese food. They refer to like spicy things and meat and cheese and all those yang. So take it as it is. But it's very, stimulating. Very stimulating. And if you have more stimulating experiences, more quick, energetic, you're rushing out, doing a bunch of things, you're not relaxing, etc., that will develop your higher conscious, spiritual, energetic senses and such. And you'll become a person who can see lots of things and see the movement of everything, as opposed to a person who's very stable and solid and maybe more quiet and such. So, it's up to you what you want to do, how you want to live, and just know that the things you consume and spend time around and all that. But I guess this is more just a hypothetical thing. It's like, try to visualize and imagine these things, the absolute polarities of positive, negative, and understand that's all. The earthly and heavenly stars. In the energetic body, there are two major stars of energy centers. These are essentially the negative and positive poles of the body. The positive pole is at the head, at the crown of the head. You may have seen images of yogis and sages and such with heads that are illuminated or have some interesting whirling, almost psychedelic, petrol-like energy vortex in their crown. This is that center. It is very similar to the sun. It illuminates the whole body, and once you focus on it enough, you become enlightened. What happens is that you quite literally feel lighter. Your body, it starts to purge itself of heavy toxicity, though an excess of this is an imbalance. Supposedly, it makes the hair white if one excessively focuses on it and has no grounding, which is interesting. Now, the opposite center is the Earth star center. Now, this is what you can think of as around the inside the pelvis region, the lower, very low point of the body, between the hips. It is the grounding center, like a magnet of the body. If you focus here, you will feel a lower heaviness, feel more growth, more physical growth, and life in your body. It's good for stopping anxiety and excess energy. These can both be focused on together and held in balance. Now, I believe that women specifically more so passively focus on the Earth center, while men more so passively focus on the heavenly center. Usually men are more animated and energetic. The source of the animation energy, and the energy is from this sun in the ground. That this is essentially one form of God. As there are many forms of God, but this is one of the forms of God. While the Earth center is one form of Saturn, Satan, the devil, nature, etc. Don't get caught up in this religious terminology, though. Ultimately, these are forces of positive and negative, earthliness and energetic, spiritualness. I believe, as I said, men represent the heavenly center, because usually a man who is unmarried will be less inclined to work, to get a house, to pursue physical, earthly stability, while women usually always seek stability in a physical, earthly sense. They want a house, they want food, they want material goods. Men seemingly want entertainment, fun, something that interests them, experience, knowledge to some degree. These more spiritual, more energetically based things. And a woman that is unmarried is usually very stuck. She is very fixed and can almost be quite depressed. It is through the energy of a man, that the positive energy that stimulates the almost like a regeneration or a newness in a woman, while a woman's earthly stabilizing energy stimulates that in a man and allows him to relax, to ground himself. And if both do not have these energies, they have to find them within themselves, I guess, because they can't find one another. The crown center is what you can use to wash away bad memories and trauma, for example.
example, that get locked in the body's nervous system. But it needs to be grounded and healed through the root. We need to develop those parts of the body that were weak and unable to defend from the trauma. Now, meditation, to try, if you wish to easily access these, is it's kind of like a natural microcosmic orbit. You want to sit and you'll put your tongue firmly to the roof of the mouth, the whole tongue, if you're able to, back and the front and the middle part to the roof, and you'll just relax. Naturally, the energy, if you focus on it and allow it, will actually rise to the top center and lower to the bottom center, and it'll just continuously run through this to depending on what you need. Of course, you could just focus on the top center and gain a temporary sense of enlightenment, and you could also focus on the bottom center and gain a temporary stability. You can also focus on both of them at the same time. That works as well. And those are the meditations. Anyway, I hope this was interesting. I hope you learned something. Goodbye. Posture is a path to enlightenment. So I've always had this idea that perfect posture gives you a perfect life. I found that as the energy running through my body purifies and becomes of a better quality, that my posture naturally improves, because as you gain more consciousness, you start to realize more and more your faults and what you need to improve upon. You even think that there's almost like a natural, proper form or proper way to do things. Of course, you can do things more to one side or another, more to like a positive side or a negative side, and this is what differentiates different cultures, for example. But there's generally a better way to do it and a worse way to do it, one that's very awkward and stressful and painful, and another that is more comfortable and proper and works better and more efficient. So do be mindful of your posture as you are doing things. Sometimes you might need to slow down a little bit. That helps, I find personally. And the more mindful you are of your posture, the less stress and strain and tension and pain you will cause yourself while doing things. This is essentially allowing your energy to naturally flow through the body. And kind of like with a musical instrument or a vehicle or some other tool, perhaps a house or whatever it happens to be, if you use it properly and you maintain it and such, it will have a longer life. I do believe the body can be potentially immortalized through proper posture, proper energy. Because if you're always doing things correctly, then you're never causing a strain or stress or damage to the body, or the damage you cause is healed and is fine. It's for the purpose of strengthening and improving. Now, naturally, weight goes down and heat rises. Your weight should always be going to the lowest part of you, to either, if you're standing, down to your legs and to your feet, or if you're sitting, to your pelvis and down to the root. You'll notice if you look at a picture of the spine that the upper spine is smaller and the lower spine is thicker. The lower spine is meant to take on more stress. You're meant to send the energy down. This is just natural for the human body. I believe chairs, for example, can be the cause of a lot of problems. If you're able to, try to stand while using your computer or phone, at least for some time, and feel how it feels, see how it feels. Personally, I find that it's very good to strengthen the legs, it's very good to avoid cold, and it just feels better because the energy, the weight, I should say, goes down, the energy rises. I think a lot of back pain, for example, can be caused by chairs because the weight is getting stuck in the lower back. It's not properly going down. A lot of people have issues around the lower back, around the bladder, the genital regions, and sometimes the belly. This can be caused by improper weight going down, and of course from excessive basically poor digestion, because the weight doesn't go down, so it causes poor digestion, and then it causes a excess of pressure in the bladder and sexual senses and such. But if you have a good flow of weight going down and a good flow of energy going up, then this is much more alleviated. You'll feel kind of more limber and light, flexible and strong and such. So do notice when you're doing daily tasks to see if you're overly stressing yourself, or sometimes you can be under stressing yourself. You can be doing things too slow. It's kind of like with some food, you need to cook the food quickly, so otherwise it just doesn't have enough energy and it doesn't taste correctly. It's soggy or something like that. So there is a fine balance between things, but generally people need to slow down, generally. Otherwise, just see what you can do. Also, having a chair without a back can help you to make sure that you're not putting the pressure on the back and you're not putting it on the upper back or something like that. Instead, you're putting it on your butt. You can also practice sitting without a back, without a chair back, as a meditation or an exercise, and you can also practice standing as an exercise. Just remember, try to make sure that the weight is going down to the ground and that the energy, the lightness, is going up to the top of the head. That will help you to gain enlightenment. Anyway, that's all for this one. As always, check links in the description if you're interested for social, commercial things that you want to comment or whatever. And of course, have a nice day. So, I finally decided to do some of the things that I've been putting off. I think life tells us what things we need to do. It's kind of like an RPG game where the main quest is always in your head and the side quests are kind of around the side or the back of the head, maybe you think. And maybe we want to put them off because, at least in my case, it's like I think, oh, why should I do that? That's so little, money, or that's so little. It's like, really, I have to gain experience in that and I have to build myself up with that. It's a bit like, I guess, the issue of the smart person in the school. The smart person doesn't want to do the work because they're smart and they think it's easy, and maybe it is easy for them, but then 5 years down the road the work becomes very difficult because they didn't build into their bones and bodies the basics, and then it seems like everyone else is smart compared to them. So I guess you just have to eat shit for a while. Put it one way, you just have to do the things you don't really want to do. You know what I mean. You have to do the things you know you need to do, and it's alright to take time to do it, I think. Well, kind of. It's really like, what timeline do you want your life to be on? I like to get things done quickly and achieve things quickly, but the ironic thing is, because of that, I am behind. At least in some ways. I'm ahead in some other ways. We're all ahead and behind in certain ways, depending on our element and makeup. Some people are richer, some are poorer, some are better at relationships, some are worse. Just how it is, But anyway, this really is just a message to say that you know what you need to do, and you should probably do it. And maybe you should take some plunges, maybe you shouldn't, who knows. But ultimately, I do find if it really is something that you should do, like recently I just invested in, I won't give too many details, but I invested, I guess, into my work, I'll put it that way, into one of my works. I got a few things going on. And I really didn't want to do it for a while because honestly, I don't think the investment will pay off all that much for a while. Maybe I'm wrong. It simply is just an expensive way to make life a little bit easier. And maybe that's a good thing. You know, maybe making things easier will allow me to do more work in other ways, will make me less stressed. I don't know. Will it pay off? I don't know, but either way, it was in my head for a lot of time, many months. I'm doing another thing, you know, getting some more work in some more ways, and again, the money's not great. But at the end of the day, we are technically in a recession. We have been for a little while. Depression, recession, I think we're in both of them, to be honest. We are in both of them by the looks of it, so more money isn't a bad thing, and gaining experiences and all that, but I really didn't want to do it. I just, every time I'd sit down, I'd go, yeah, I don't know about this, you know, I don't want to have to learn new things, I don't want to have to do new things, I don't want to have to struggle in new ways. It's like, it is what it is, and it kept coming up, and it kept coming up, and I knew it's like, alright, it's one of those things, I just have to do it. It's one of those things you know you need to do. So basically it's a main, or at least, I don't know if it would be a main quest, but it's definitely it's like, you know how main quests have multiple different things you have to do? You have to do a few side quests for the main quest. I guess it'd be like that. I'm doing the side quests for the main quest, and you have to, you know, write it down in your life. Now, I wrote down all the side quests today. I wrote down, I've got to clean the bathroom, I've got to make that new field, I've got to, you know, do this or that, go shopping, get some food. These are just kind of miscellaneous side quests. But and then you can say, like, you know, what are the main quests? What are the main things in your life that you have to do? Write them down. If that helps you, that helps me at least. You know, just to be like, just to tick it off. Yep, I do that. I find systematizing, gamifying life makes it more fun. Got to do something to stimulate yourself and entertain yourself, I guess, and all that. But anyway, whatever. I hope this helps. I hope you get what I mean. I'm sure if it's affecting me, it's probably affecting you and everyone else. It seems life just kind of seems like that. We all get hit with something. You know? Anyway, of course, have a nice day, and feel free to check the links in the description if you're interested in more social, commercial stuff. You can comment or whatever. And goodbye.